In 1978, a U.S. Navy warship returned to port with its sonar dome shredded by enormous claw marks. Inside many of the cuts, teeth were discovered. This isn't a conspiracy theory. These are official sonar recordings that scientists still can't explain. From creatures moving at impossible speeds to sounds powerful enough to disrupt military equipment, here are 17 times sonar detected something that wasn't supposed to exist. Number 17. The 52 Hz Lonely Whale. 1989, scientists at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution caught a new call on deep-sea hydrophones. It was a whale, but not like any they knew. This one sang at 52 Hz. Too high for blue whales, too low for others, and it was alone. Every year between August and December, the same signal would travel from Alaska down toward California. The whale followed a migration path, just without a companion. Scientists called it the world's loneliest whale. Was it sick, a hybrid, deformed? No one knew. William Watkins tracked the sound for over a decade using the Navy's old SOS array. But when he passed in 2004, the whale slipped off radar until an intern spotted a familiar call years later. Hope flickered again. In 2010, 2 calls were recorded at the same time, both at 52 Hz. Could there be more than one? Maybe it was never lonely, but no one's ever seen it. Just a voice in the dark, heard and felt, but never found. And that voice might be the least disturbing thing we've detected down there. Number 16. Translucent deep star jelly. In September 2019, deep below the Pacific near Baker and Howland Islands, scientists aboard the Nautilus were running a deep-sea expedition. Sonar hit something slow, soft, spreading. The ROV Hercules dove to investigate. What they found drifting at around 900 meters wasn't just bizarre, it was beautiful. A Deepsteria enigmatica jellyfish. No tentacles, no stingers, just a massive bag-like bell that opened and folded like a ghost breathing underwater. The jelly's shape changed constantly, sometimes a dome, other times a rippling disc, like an alien parachute caught in deep-sea wind. And inside it, something unexpected, a glowing red isopod, a crustacean maybe 8 centimeters long, tucked neatly inside the jelly's translucent veil. Was it a parasite, a hitchhiker, a stowaway that found shelter in a jellyfish mansion? Scientists debated. Some said mutualism, some called it a deep-sea ambush. But one researcher posed a darker question. What if the isopod wasn't a passenger, but a pilot? The jelly's body was clear enough to see its inner network, stomach canals, vein-like branches, almost like nerves. It floated, billowed, twisted in slow motion. Then the ROV lights moved and it vanished. Not a single ripple, not a flash, just gone. Sonar faded. The team sat in quiet awe. So what do you believe? Malfunction or mystery? Creature or coincidence? Number 15. The bloop. Summer of 1997, deep in the South Pacific, NOAA scientists were tracking underwater noise with hydrophones. Then, out of nowhere, it hit. A deep, rising roar. Climbed in pitch, lasted almost 60 seconds, and was heard across more than 3,000 miles of ocean. They called it the bloop. And for 15 years, that name would haunt marine biologists who couldn't explain what they'd heard. But this wasn't some ordinary underwater noise. It sounded organic, powerful, big, and if it came from a living creature, it would have made a blue whale look tiny. The mystery caught fire. Forums, science blogs, even cryptozoologists jumped in. Was it a sea monster? Something hiding under the Antarctic shelf? A secret military project? For 8 years, NOAA kept the recordings classified. Then in 2005, after pressure from researchers who'd heard rumors, they finally expanded their audio surveillance across Antarctica. That's when it clicked. The bloop sound matched something else exactly. An icequake. Glaciers were cracking apart and making underwater sonic booms. Dr. Robert Jack confirmed it. Same frequency, same patterns, same intensity. Mystery solved. Or was it? Because even if it wasn't a beast, the bloop reminded us of something haunting. We've only explored about 5% of the ocean floor. That 1-minute sound, it was a wake-up call from the deep. The bloop proved the ocean could scream. Number 14. Magnapinna squid. In late 2023, rolling into early 2024, a deep-sea expedition team was surveying the Tonga Trench, one of the deepest cuts in Earth's crust. Sonar picked up a strange return at over 10,000 feet down. It was faint but consistent, so they sent the ROV. What glided into frame wasn't just another squid. It was Magnapinna, also known as the big fin squid. And this thing didn't swim. It haunted. It floated motionless, arms dangling like cables from a power line, long and spindly. Some of those arms stretched 20 feet or more with elbow-like bends that seemed unnatural. As it hovered above the seafloor, the crew on board whispered, "It looks like it's walking in mid-air." Its body was pinkish red, fins broad and elegant, almost 90% of its total body length. And those arms thin as thread. Scientists believed they were covered in tiny suckers used to trap drifting prey. In another recording from the Great Australian Bight, it was seen doing the same elbow pose, arms bent sharply, held out like a fishing net, waiting. But then, just as fast as it appeared, it rose. No burst, no escape, just a silent lift upward, out of frame. The sonar went quiet. Later, when they checked the depth readings, they realized something chilling. It had been watching them the entire time. Number 13. Gulper eel balloons. In September 2018, aboard the exploration ship Nautilus, scientists were scanning underwater seamounts in the vast dark of the Papahanaumokwakea Marine National Monument. That's almost a mile below sea level. Sonar pulsed through the black, bouncing off strange terrain. And then the feed lit up. Something entered frame. At first it looked like a drifting ribbon, thin, slow-moving, maybe a fish. But then its jaw cracked open and its whole head inflated like a black water balloon. A perfect sphere puffed with eerie silence. The crew gasped, laughter, shock, all at once. They had just spotted a gulper eel, also called a pelican eel. Scientific name Uropharynx pelechinoides. And that balloon trick, it wasn't just for show. Deep in the midnight zone, food was rare. So the gulper evolved to gulp. That inflatable jaw could snatch prey almost twice its own size. It even had an elastic throat and stomach that stretched like deep-sea rubber. Some scientists said it inflated to startle threats. Others said it was like setting a giant trap. Open wide, float still, and let the unlucky swim in. After the performance, it shrank back down and glided away. Quiet, weightless, gone. The sonar returned to silence. Number 12. Tic-Tac's undersea shadow. Mid-1990s, off the coast of Puerto Rico, a U.S. Navy USS-53 helicopter hovered over the ocean, retrieving drone torpedoes. The pilot spotted the usual bobbing torpedo below. But then something else appeared. A dark shape surged up from the depths. Huge, silent, featureless. It hovered just below the waves, then sank back down without a sound. No radar ping, no camera capture, just a few stunned witnesses. Years later, during the infamous 2004 Tic-Tac UFO incident near the USS Nimitz, the same pilot shared his story again. This time, others believed him. Commander David Fravor backed him up, describing a similar undersea shadow tide to the Tic-Tac's flight path. Could it have been a USO, unidentified submersible object, moving seamlessly between sea and sky? And if so, how long has it been using our oceans as a highway? Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet summed it up. It may have emerged from the sea. Whatever it was, it came without warning and vanished just as fast. But if these objects can move between air and sea undetected, how many times have they been watching us without our knowledge? Number 11. MH370 Ping and Acoustic Mystery. In April 2014, the deepest sonar search in aviation history began. Mission: locate Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. It had vanished weeks earlier, and now every ship in the southern Indian Ocean was dragging their ears across the seabed. The Ocean Shield, an Australian Navy vessel, towed a pinger locator. The goal: catch the black box signal, 37.5 kHz, 1 ping per second. Between April 6th and 8th, two ships, Ocean Shield and Ningen 01, detected faint signals just minutes apart, 2 kilometers apart, weak but real. On April 8th, the ping lasted over 2 hours, then another for 13 minutes. The location, 3,000 meters deep, but the excitement faded. Experts at the Australian Joint Acoustic Analysis Centre reviewed the data. Verdict: it wasn't a match. The frequency was off. The signature didn't line up with black box beacons. Could have been the towed equipment itself. Could have been marine noise. Could have been hope. Bluefin 21, an autonomous underwater vehicle, scanned 860 square kilometers, 30 missions. Zero wreckage. Zero pings. The signals faded. The ocean swallowed its secrets again. Number 10. ARA San Juan Submarine Hydroacoustic. On November 15, 2017, the Argentine Navy lost contact with the ARA San Juan, a diesel-electric submarine carrying 44 sailors. It vanished somewhere in the cold swells of the South Atlantic. Panic spread. Hours later, thousands of miles away in Vienna, a quiet organization, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, noticed something. Their underwater monitoring system designed to catch atomic detonations recorded an acoustic event. 1351 Universal Time coordinated a sharp, violent burst deep in the ocean. They called it a hydroacoustic anomaly. It didn't match whale calls or shifting currents. It sounded explosive, short, brutal, and its location was chillingly close to the submarine's last known position. Argentina confirmed it days later. Experts believe the sub may have suffered a catastrophic implosion under pressure, crushed by the sea itself. But finding it wasn't easy. Over 13 countries joined the search. Planes, ships, submersibles. They scanned over 500,000 square kilometers. The sonar played a cruel game. False returns, animal noises, empty echoes. An entire year passed. Then in November 2018, a private company, Ocean Infinity, found the wreckage 900 meters deep, scattered over 8,000 square meters. The hull torn apart. No survivors, just a single underwater sound that told the story before anyone else could. Number 9. The Quackers phenomenon. Cold War. 1960s to 80s. Soviet submarines cruising the Arctic and North Atlantic began picking up something bizarre on sonar. Frog-like croaks. Quick, sharp quack sounds that seemed to circle the subs then vanish. The crews named them Quackers. These weren't just noises. They moved, sometimes at speeds up to 200 kilometers an hour, faster than any submarine. Soviet sailors even tried responding with sonar. At times, the Quackers replied or shifted pitch like they were listening. By the late 70s, the signals were popping up everywhere from the Barents Sea to the North Atlantic. The Soviet Navy formed a special commission with their top scientists. For nearly a decade, they chased the source, but nothing added up. Some believed it was secret U.S. sonar tech. Others whispered about sea creatures or worse, visitors from somewhere else. After the 80s, the sounds stopped just like that. No farewell signal, no trace, gone. To this day, no one knows exactly what they were. The Soviet files on the Quackers remain classified even after the Cold War ended. Whatever was in those reports, Russia still doesn't want it public. However, the Quackers went silent in the 80s, but there's one voice that's been calling for decades, and no creature on Earth can answer it. Number 8. The Arctic Ping Mystery. In the summer of 2016, hunters in Nunavut's Fury and Hekla Strait noticed something chilling. The animals were gone. No seals, no whales, no walruses. And under the waves, a strange ping pulsed from the seafloor. Rhythmic, mechanical, eerie. Paul Kwasa, a Nunavut official, said, "This time around, there were hardly any animals, and this became a suspicious thing." The Canadian military responded fast. Too fast. Some said Operation Limpid launched within days. For a sound that supposedly didn't exist, they sure sent a lot of hardware to find it. Aircraft swept the region with acoustic sensors. The official report, nothing. No unusual sound, but locals still insist they heard it. And curiously, the military's acoustic data from that period remains classified. Rumors ignited. Was it mining companies, Greenpeace, secret tests? Everyone denied involvement. No sonar permits, no activity, just that ping. Experts suggested shifting sea ice rubbing and grinding on the seafloor, but no one ever captured the sound on tape. No public recordings, no clear answers. And then just like that, it stopped. The animals came back. The waters went quiet. Whatever had been speaking through the Arctic's frozen deep, it said what it needed to say and vanished without a trace. Number 7. Ningen. Winter, 2007. In the subantarctic waters, a Japanese whale research vessel was scanning the deep. Their sonar pinged something massive, 2 to 3 times longer than a bus. Crew members leaned in. Then it glided into view. A pale, human-shaped figure drifting just below the surface. Some swore it had arms, legs, even a face. The captain ordered the lights off, hoping the vessel's shadow wouldn't scare it away, but the creature seemed to be watching them. Its white skin reflected the floodlights faintly, smooth like ice yet disturbingly organic. One crewman snapped a photo before the creature twisted sideways and sank into the darkness, moving with unnerving grace. Hours later, the sonar picked it up again, this time deeper, slower, as if circling the ship from below. When divers reviewed the footage, they caught a faint humanoid silhouette gliding past the lens, just for a split second. The Japanese Institute later confiscated the data, citing national research policy, fueling years of conspiracy. Some sailors who were there that night claimed they heard muffled knocking from beneath the hull, 3 slow knocks, as if something enormous was testing the ship's strength. The recording technician resigned weeks later, refusing to go back to sea. But before they could react, it disappeared. When cameras dropped, nothing was there, only silence. But the sonar recording remained, showing something that moved with purpose, something that knew exactly when to disappear. This thing became known online as Ningen, Japanese for human. First posted on forums like 2chan, it exploded into a digital myth. In November 2007, the magazine MU dubbed it Antarctic Humans. Scientists say it was probably a whale carcass or an iceberg or sonar distortion, but no one has ever confirmed it. Still, to those sailors, it felt alive. And that sonar ping frozen in the ship's logs, it's the only proof left of something that looked way too much like us, then vanished forever. Number 6. The USS Stein monster. In 1978, the USS Stein, a Knox-class frigate, was patrolling the Pacific, likely near the equator west of Central America. It was fitted with one of the Navy's most powerful sonar systems, the N/SQS-26. But something went wrong. Sudden static system failure. The sonar went down. Back at Long Beach Naval Shipyard, technicians examined the massive sonar dome, a rubber-coated housing that protects the sonar below the hull. What they found was jaw-dropping. More than 8% of the dome surface was torn up, deep slashes and punctures. Some cuts were 4 feet long. Embedded inside, curved hooks, dozens of them. They weren't machine parts. They weren't barnacles. These were organic, squid arm hooks. But unlike any squid known to science, marine biologist Forrest G. Wood examined the damage. He confirmed these hooks came from a cephalopod, possibly a squid, but much, much larger than anything officially recorded. Biophysicist C. Scott Johnson added that the size and pressure needed to inflict that kind of damage suggested a squid over 150 feet long. The Navy's official report called it contact with an unknown biological entity. Off the record, sailors had a different name for it, the thing that attacked us. But the creature was never seen again. No footage, no capture, just a battle-scarred sonar dome and a legend that grew into whispers of the USS Stein monster. A deep-sea enigma that left physical proof, 8-inch claw marks on military-grade steel. Now it's time for today's topic. In March 2024, an unmanned deep-sea research submarine named Nereus II, operated by the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, BARI, was exploring a trench nearly 10,000 feet below the surface off the coast of New Zealand's Kermadec Ridge. During what was meant to be a routine mapping mission, the sub-sonar registered a slow-moving mass roughly 30 meters in length, far larger than any known shark species. Moments later, the onboard cameras captured a faint, ghostly silhouette emerging from the deep. The creature's massive frame moved with deliberate, almost effortless power. Its body structure resembled that of a great white, yet its proportions were entirely different, broader, thicker, and far longer. The video feed, though grainy, showed distinctive scarring patterns along its head, unlike anything ever documented. When BARI researchers analyzed the footage, they confirmed the object's biological movement and mass density were consistent with a living creature. The team named it Shadow Alpha. The discovery reignited global debate among marine scientists, with some suggesting it could be a surviving descendant of Carcharocal's megalodon, long believed to have gone extinct over 3 million years ago. The footage remains under study, but one thing is certain. Something enormous still moves through the silent darkness of the Pacific. Number 5. Amelia Earhart's long-lost plane. Amelia Earhart vanished on July 2, 1937, somewhere near Howland Island. For nearly 90 years, people searched. But in late 2003, Tony Romeo, a former U.S. Air Force officer, said, "Let's go again." With $11 million, high-tech sonar, and a Hugin underwater drone, his team scanned over 5,000 square miles of ocean. Then it happened. The sonar team fell silent as the blurry image appeared, a metallic outline resting eerily on the seabed, half buried by silt. The shape was so distinct that even the engineers thought it was man-made. Rumors spread fast across expedition channels. "We've got it." Back on deck, tension mixed with disbelief as the team replayed the footage over and over. The wingspan matched perfectly, the tail fin had the same proportions, and even the angles looked right. News outlets caught wind, calling it the greatest aviation discovery since Titanic. For weeks, speculation dominated headlines. Experts weighed in, some swearing it was too precise to be natural, others calling for patience. Meanwhile, the Hugin drone's battery logs showed strange interference near the object, making retrieval attempts risky. Romeo himself described standing over the coordinates, feeling history under his feet, just beyond reach. A blurry sonar image 16,000 feet down, a shape 40 feet long, 65 feet wide, with wings, a tail. Everything matched her Lockheed Electra. Romeo said it felt like the most exciting thing I'll ever do. For a moment, the world thought the mystery had cracked open. But science doesn't move on feelings. By November 2024, high-res images revealed the truth. Just rock, a natural formation carved by ocean currents. No plane, no metal, no Amelia. Hope sank again. Still, that fleeting sonar shadow, just like the bloop, left a mark. Because even when the answer is no, the search reminds us why we keep listening. Number 4. Loch Ness's vanishing giant. It's on everybody's top 5 list of legendary creatures, the Loch Ness monster. Sightings date back to the 6th century. And just when you think the creature and the legend may have died down, some new eyewitness accounts pop up to remind you the story is still very much alive. December 1954. The fishing boat Rival 3 was alone on Loch Ness when every instrument on board started acting strange. Its sonar suddenly lit up. A large object was pacing the boat. Depth nearly 500 feet, size unknown. A team of scientists sweeping the depths of Loch Ness said tonight they'd made sonar contact with a large unidentified object. But it was big, it was moving, and then it disappeared. Years later, in 1968, sonar expert Dr. D. Gordon Tucker dropped a net of sonar beams across the loch. For 2 straight weeks, targets, blips, shapes, moving at speeds way too fast for fish. Then came the biggest one yet, Operation Deep Scan 1987. 24 boats formed a sweep line, scanning together. And deep down at nearly 600 feet, something pinged. Big echoes moving, alive. Even MIT got involved in 72. Their sonar recorded something about 25 feet long with a possible flipper. And still nothing visible. Nothing confirmed. Every time the sonar found it, the beast vanished. Expert Craig Wallace called the 2020 returns clear, large, and distinct. But other scientists, particularly those with government funding, pushed back hard. Maybe it's a fish. Maybe it's sonar drift. Or maybe it's something certain people don't want confirmed. So here we are. Decades of sonar, countless echoes, but no body, no proof. Biggest search for the Loch Ness monster in more than half a century is underway this weekend in Scotland. Just one question still floating at the bottom of that loch. If it's not real, why does sonar keep seeing it? Number 3. The Baltic Sea anomaly. In June 2011, a team of Swedish treasure hunters, Ocean X, sailed into the Gulf of Bothnia. They were scanning the seabed for shipwrecks when something showed up on sonar. A circle, 60 meters wide, flat top, sharp edges with a tail-like streak running almost 300 meters behind it. On screen, it looked like the Millennium Falcon had crash-landed under the Baltic Sea. Things got weirder. When they first lowered their camera, visibility was almost zero, silt clouds swirling as if something disturbed the water. Divers described the structure as smooth in some areas but unusually rough in others, like metal corroded over centuries. The sonar returns showed right angles and dome-like ridges not normally seen in glacial rock. Some even reported seeing what looked like openings or staircases leading downward, though the murky water made it impossible to confirm. The divers claimed a faint electrical hum could be heard through the comms, cutting in and out with static. Even the ROV began to malfunction, its compass spinning erratically whenever it got too close. Rumors spread that the anomaly emitted magnetic interference strong enough to scramble electronics. Others swore it resembled ancient architecture rather than a geological formation, pointing out the perfectly circular symmetry. Scientists demanded clearer imaging, but Ocean X's subsequent dives only deepened the mystery. During their return in 2012, gear started failing. Lights, cameras, satellite phones, dead. Move away. Everything powered back up every single time, as if something down there was generating a field that didn't want to be photographed. Peter Lindbergh said it has stair formations. If it's constructed, it had to be before the Ice Age. They collected samples: granite, basalt, sandstone, common stuff. Experts like Volker Bruchert from Stockholm University called it natural, a glacial deposit. Maybe a drumlin, a leftover from melting ice. Still, the low-res sonar image kept people talking. UFO theories, Nazi tech, ancient temples. But the real anomaly? Whatever's down there is still shutting down equipment, and Ocean X never went back to find out why. Number 2. Alien-looking creature. They dropped the ROV into the deep on November 12, 2013. Right off the east coast of Africa, nearly 4,000 feet down. Lights flicked on, sonar scanned, and then the screen lit up with something that made the crew go silent. It wasn't just strange. It was straight up beautiful. At first, the researchers thought the equipment was malfunctioning. The ROV's sensors were reading unusual temperature fluctuations, and the luminescent glow looked almost artificial, like circuitry pulsing through transparent skin. The creature drifted upward slowly, tentacles undulating like silk in a current. Each movement triggered a cascade of colors: electric blues, soft pinks, and gold streaks running down its body in mesmerizing waves. For nearly 5 minutes, the team watched in stunned silence as it hovered in front of the camera, reacting to the ROV's lights as if curious. One biologist whispered that it looked like a living aurora. The footage was immediately sent to shore-based labs for analysis, where experts debated whether it could be an undiscovered species. Some even suggested that deep-sea pressure or magnetic anomalies could have altered its physiology, giving it that surreal glow. Others insisted it was a known organism, but one pushed beyond recognition by the crushing depths. A translucent creature appeared, glowing and twisting in slow motion like a jellyfish mixed with a lava lamp. One moment it was stretched out, the next it ballooned and flickered like a sci-fi hallucination. Viewers called it alien-looking. But here's the twist. It wasn't alien, though. It took 3 marine biologists and 2 AI systems to confirm that the creature was so bizarre that human experts needed machine verification. The sonar didn't lie. That shape, that flicker, that pulse, it all checked out in the AI's comparison model. It confirmed the ID with a match rate over 98%, that it was a ctenophore or comb jellyfish. But if creatures this alien-looking are common in our oceans, What else is down there that we've been calling normal? And if that glimpse of the impossible got your attention, hit subscribe now because what's coming next makes a glowing jelly look downright ordinary. Number 1. Lake Michigan Craters. In 2022, off Sheboygan, Wisconsin, researchers from the Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary began scanning the floor of Lake Michigan. Then the sonar pings hit, crater after crater, perfect circles, each up to 300 meters wide and 40 feet deep. Some lined up, some scattered like cosmic debris fields. No shipwrecks, no trash, just holes in the earth, untouched. When the team first reviewed the sonar data, a hush fell over the control room. The images looked almost too deliberate, like some celestial event had been frozen beneath the lake. A few scientists compared the formations to lunar craters, while others whispered about underwater methane vents or glacial remnants from the Ice Age. One geologist noted subtle mineral deposits around the edges of several craters, as if something had once burned hot beneath the surface. Divers who descended into one of the depressions described an eerie stillness. No current, no sound, just a faint shimmer in the water as if it was alive. Samples from the site later revealed microbial colonies unlike anything seen in the Great Lakes before, thriving in complete darkness. The strange symmetry of the holes made some speculate about magnetic anomalies or artificial interference, but no conclusive evidence emerged. In August 2022, the team returned with a remotely operated vehicle. What they found was surreal. More than 40 massive round depressions, each cold, dark, and alive, with shrimp, sculpins, mussels, and odd bacterial mats. Were they sinkholes? Some said yes. The lake sat on limestone and Lake Huron had similar formations. Others noticed the craters were too perfect, too uniform, as if something had been taking samples from below. Whatever carved those scars into Michigan's lake bed didn't leave a note, just silence and questions. But sometimes the most unsettling discoveries aren't what we know. It is the beautiful ones. How many of these sonar pings were just science, and how many were something else entirely? Could the next unexplained signal change everything we thought we knew about the deep? Hit that subscribe button because the ocean isn't done speaking yet, and share your thoughts below. What do you think we've really been hearing all this time?